And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to talk about the CFP, starting with the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, they say. Georgia got left out. Florida State got left out. All for Alabama. Well, we saw Michigan as a legitimate CFP team. Like, after they won Ohio State, they probably were going to be in the playoff no matter what. Unless they lost to Iowa, but they steamrolled them. Okay, they absolutely steamrolled. Now, Michigan, they're a fine team. Michigan is, we've all heard about their cheating scandal and their possible bowl ban. And some people say they shouldn't even be here right now. And that's true. I kind of agree with them. Michigan's here. I mean, they suspended Harbaugh, however you say his name, for 3 games. They suspended him for the 6 games of the season. They suspended him against UNLV, Bowling Green, and other teams like that. I mean, East Carolina. They played easy teams to start the season. And the thing is, they had 1 loss to Penn State. Their only key wins were Penn State and Ohio State. I'm surprised that wasn't Penn State's final game. Why wasn't that a Saturday night football game? And that's everybody's thinking. You think that, oh yeah, Michigan they shouldn't be here. Florida State should. Yeah, I thought so too. Now Alabama's had a magical season. After that embarrassing loss to Texas, they've rebounded. The thing is, I feel like they didn't have any hard road games. All their big games were at home. Big game against Ole Miss, at home. Big game against Tennessee, at home. Big game against this team up here, LSU. That was a home game. They had no major road games. Except maybe the Texas A&M game. But it does not matter. They almost lost to South Florida, a team that had won 1-11 the year before. But the thing is, you're kind of underestimating Alabama. Alabama is a good team. Michigan will win. No, everybody says that Michigan will win because they're a rushing attack and probably home field advantage. No, Alabama wins. Alabama will win. This is going to be one of the greatest games in the history of the CFP. Number 2, Washington plays number 3, Texas. Now, this is New Year's Day. And the thing is, I don't get it. Washington... Alright, so we talked about Washington at the start of the season. So I thought they were a New Year's 6 team. I thought they were a New Year's 6 team. No, they're a CFP team, apparently. And who knew that? Washington... They're just... Alright, you want me... Washington's key wins. Number 18, Utah. Number 8, Oregon. Twice. They beat Oregon twice. USC. USC is a legitimate team now. And you think that Washington is one of the most luckiest teams in the history of college football. No, you're talking about 2007 LSU. Washington is not lucky. Washington is lucky, I'm sorry. They escaped USC. They barely beat Utah. They almost lost to their Apple Cup rivals, Washington State. They only won by 3. They keep on getting away with it. Now I can understand you having a close game against Oregon twice. Because they're Oregon. Oregon's always good. You also had a key win against Oregon State. Oregon State is great too. They had a hard stretch. Now, when you say Texas, we can now finally agree that Texas is back. After a big win over Alabama, their only loss was in the red rivalry to, you know who, Oklahoma. And Washington, you might think about this. Washington had a key win over Arizona. Yes, Arizona. And why do I say that? Arizona is ranked 14th right now. They beat 3 straight ranked opponents to get into the rankings. And now they're in the Alamo Bowl playing today. And this is one of the most Cinderella story teams in the Pac-12. I mean, I guess you could say Colorado's a Cinderella story. TCU should have never been in the playoff last year because they're not even making a bowl game this year. And when you think about this, you think, well, Texas had some good wins over Kansas State and Kansas and Oklahoma State. Those were their key wins. Who has more key wins, Texas or Washington? Texas. Texas has like one more. No, Washington has like one more key win. But I have to pick Washington because everyone likes to underestimate them. Washington? Don't ever underestimate Washington. Because they will smoke a team because they are angry. Texas is a favorite by 4.5. And I know Texas has the home field advantage because this is the Sugar Bowl. But don't underestimate Washington. Just don't. I pick Washington. And we're just going to talk about my family's favorite team bowl games. So first we'll talk about mine. LSU versus Wisconsin. Now you feel like if you're a GX Tiger fan, you think, well, you're probably angry because we're playing Wisconsin in the Outback Bowl. And third, I feel like we should have been in a New Year's Six Bowl playing like Oregon. We also maybe should have been playing like Penn State in Atlanta. Because I predicted us to go to the Peach Bowl. I didn't think we were going to make the playoff after we lost to Florida State and Ole Miss and Alabama. I mean, we were eliminated from the playoffs after losing to Alabama and the SEC champ game. So, it was impossible. Wisconsin is 7-5. Excuse me, what? They're 7-5 and they're here? Like, I mean, you can admit, like, LSU has a later bowl game than Georgia. But yeah, LSU wins. Like, I joked to my dad that, we were playing FCS school. But then I realized Daniel Jones was declaring for the draft, and now I'm actually afraid we might lose to that so-called FCS school. So, I want you to see that LSU is a good team. Yeah, they are. LSU wins. Clemson plays Kentucky. Now we saw Kentucky upset Louisville. I think some people even picked Louisville to lose. Louisville's lost 3 straight. They were a playoff team. Louisville was ranked number 10. Louisville was that good. And yet they're here. Losing in the Holiday Bowl to USC. I mean, because Louisville got mossed. Because the guy's name was Millermoth, I think, and he threw for 6 touchdowns. And, yeah, I mean, I don't understand that. How did he do that? He, like, did torch Louisville. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but, like, deep offensively. It was 42-28. Now, let's fork this back. Mom likes Clemson. Clemson's had a disappointing year. And even if they did make the ACC champ, it would depend on their resume. Best wins, Notre Dame, North Carolina. Their losses were to Duke. I don't know how. That's how Duke became the Cinderella story. North Carolina State. North Carolina State. Miami. and Florida State. But I picked Clemson to win. They're gonna have a nice game, I feel like. And yeah, Kentucky they don't have the firepower. They started 5-0 to start the season. They were ranked. But then they had to play Georgia and got smoked 51-13. Then that started the downfall. Then they lost to Missouri. Then they lost to Kentucky. Or they lost to Alabama. And just, it's hard to win. They lost to Tennessee. Now Tennessee, I mean, we'll get to that later. Well, yeah. And now the other kind of good bowl games start. You could say they start tomorrow. Oregon State and Notre Dame. This team is good. Oregon State had a good, nice little thingamajig going on the start of the season. They were ranked in the top 10 to start the season, and they were just so good. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in Oregon State program history. Like, there's a bowl game on right now. I didn't even realize. SMU and Boston College in the Fenway. Like, I have to look at this college football schedule to even give you the games. I mean, yeah, Auburn and Maryland, Trans-Pacific Music City Bowl, Iowa, Tennessee, Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, and then the National Championship. Well, thank you for listening to the GX Tiger podcast. Make sure you subscribe and like, comment in the, or how do you say it? Make sure you subscribe to the GX Tiger podcast, and I'll see you next time on the GX Tiger podcast. Thank you.